Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us today to learn more about Montclair State University's new online virtual learning for students with disability certificate program. For today's webinar, you will not be using your video or microphone. We encourage you to ask questions by clicking on Q&A in your webinar controls. I see many of you have already found that. We will be answering these questions at the end of the session, and we will also have a recording of the webinar with closed captioning available in the next few days. We will be sending it to the email used at the time of registration, so please add online at montclair.edu to your safe sender list. You will notice that the full certificate program is currently pending state review. This simply means that the state of New Jersey's President's Council, which oversees higher education, asks that we send them new certificate programs as an information item to their Academic Affairs Committee. Once they receive it, the program will become part of the state's inventory of programs, and Montclair State will formalize it as an approved program. At this time, students can enroll in the program coursework as non-degree graduate students. I am now going to turn the session over to Dr. Goke, who is the Associate Professor in the Department of Teaching and Learning, and she is also the Graduate Program Coordinator for this new virtual learning graduate certificate.
Great, thank you, and hi everyone, good afternoon. I am Jennifer Goke, and I've been a professor in the Department of Teaching and Learning for 15 years here at Montclair State University, and I'm really excited to talk to you today about this online certificate in virtual learning for students with disabilities. Today's topics will include a program overview, including an explanation of why we decided to create this program at this time, an explanation of the curriculum, an overview of the learning objectives for the program, specific steps you can take to apply, and then a Q&A at the end. Hopefully, throughout the other content of the webinar, we'll answer many of your questions, but if not, we're happy to take your questions at the end. For those of you who are not familiar with Montclair State University, we have a long history of teacher education in the College of Education and Human Services. We have close links to a network of K-12 partner schools. We train our teachers in the most up-to-date research-based methods. Our faculty are renowned in teacher education, and we really pride ourselves on being able to respond to the needs of our partner school community. During the pandemic, I was getting a lot of outreach from K-12 teachers and administrators who were really struggling with how to reach students with disabilities in this very abrupt shift to online learning. And that's why we really wanted to rapidly create a program that could help teachers prepare for the upcoming school year, especially with respect to students who may be more difficult to reach using online technology and instruction. Even if you are familiar with technology, it can be really difficult to get as familiar with it as we need to be in the current crisis. And so it was very important for me and for my colleagues in the Department of Teaching and Learning to figure out a way to respond to K-12 teachers who are really struggling at this time. So just to give you a little overview of the certificate, first I should say that a certificate is not a certification in the way that you would be certified by the state of New Jersey. This is a credential that Montclair State University is giving you, showing that you have completed 6 credits in this online program and that you have acquired expertise in this particular area. The program includes 2 courses. Course 1 is called Online Instruction for Students with Disabilities, and that course will be offered for the first time in August, from August 10th through 27th, and will be fully online. Course 2 is called Virtual Assessment and Evaluation for Students with Disabilities, and that will be offered in October through December in the fall. So I'd just like to say a little bit about the structure of these courses and why we've scheduled them this way. We really felt like offering course 1 during the summer was extremely important for teachers who are preparing for the upcoming school year. and that we had a window of opportunity in August before school resumes, whether it's fully online or some combination of online and in-person teaching this fall, that teachers really need an opportunity to gain practical, readily applicable skills that they can take right from this course into their classroom. And that really is the goal of that 3-week course, that you will leave with a unit of study that is fully integrated with technology that is accessible to students with disabilities, that you have successfully used multiple online applications and platforms, and that it's extremely user-friendly. The course is fully online, as it states there on the slide. There will be up to 4 synchronous meetings, probably 1 per week. And the course instructor will work with everyone who's registered for the course to ensure that those happen at a time that most of the class registrants can participate. If you are not able to participate in the synchronous meetings, she will record the synchronous sessions and post them so that everybody will be able to access that content. The second course on virtual assessment and evaluation for students with disabilities will be a continuation of the first course, so that you'll have more of an opportunity to use what you learned in course 1 and then focus specifically on assessment and evaluation for students with disabilities, because one of the things that's really challenging for us as special educators is that it can be really difficult to see what our students are learning and whether or not they're progressing in an online environment. And especially if you're responsible for monitoring IEP goals and objectives, that can be extremely challenging. So even though the first course is 3 weeks, and that's a very intense timeline, course 2, being 8 weeks, will allow for a little bit more breathing room, development, and application of what you learned in course 1. You're absolutely welcome to register for only one of the courses. However, they do complement one another, and taking them together will really amplify your knowledge about how to teach students with disabilities in a virtual learning environment. This is an overview of the certificate program objectives. And our first objective is really to understand technology as an effective tool for achieving the educational outcomes for students with disabilities, including those outlined in IEPs. With that said, all of the strategies and knowledge that you gain in this program are also applicable to every learner in an online classroom. So whether you are a general education teacher or a special education teacher, you will gain knowledge and skills that you can use to reach all learners. And I think that that is a really important message that I would like to convey through this webinar. It's also important for us as educators to understand the legislative and policy requirements for the use of technology for students with disabilities. This was a very abrupt change that we all just lived through in the spring to online instruction, but there are, of course, legal implications for teachers of students with disabilities that we need to understand clearly. As with all of the teacher education programs in the Department of Teaching and Learning, we will apply principles of universal design for learning to virtual instructional design and assessment. You will learn to implement various hardware and software tools, including disability-specific assistive technology, and to make informed instructional decisions regarding technology, which includes creating technology-rich lesson plans and unit plans and assessments that are based on the New Jersey state standards. Ideal candidates for this program include any K-12 teachers who, first of all, really need this knowledge in order to do their jobs well. I think that is the most important and pressing need among K-12 teachers right now. If you are a general ed or special ed teacher who is interested in seeking either a master's degree or a teacher of students with disabilities endorsement or a master's plus 30, this would absolutely apply to you. You may be able to transfer the 6 credits from this program into one of those programs if you consult with a program advisor. Any K-12 teachers, administrators, or other educators who are looking for additional training and professional development in virtual learning, this certificate program is for you, as well as students who are currently graduate students in an education program who are concerned about transitioning into a K-12 school environment that may be experiencing waves of virtual instruction into the future. If you are a new teacher, you want to enter the classroom armed with the best possible preparation that you can for teaching all students. Here are just a few of the program benefits that we would like to highlight. Upon completion of the certificate, it's very important to us, as I said, that you have readily applicable tools and strategies that you can transition immediately from the online class to your own K-12 classroom. So we are striving to create as coherent and readily accessible content that we possibly can. Both of the instructors for these courses are classroom teachers themselves who are special educators and also technology experts in their school districts, so members of their school district's technology integration task forces, as well as teacher educators. So they have a wide range of knowledge, not only about how to teach students, including students with disabilities, but also how to use technology to achieve learning goals. So they're living through the same situation that many of you probably are right now, and they're able to really understand the questions and the challenges that teachers are facing. You will be able to use the course assignments that are embedded in these courses to set up or redesign or update your virtual classroom and assessments for this fall. And as I said before, any K-12 teachers, including general and special education teachers, will be able to apply this content to their virtual classrooms. If you are ready to apply, you can go to the Montclair State online application page. The link is here at the top of this slide. You would start an application for non-degree academic program, which you can see on the right of the slide. There's a pull-down menu, and you would choose non-degree, and then select this program, which is virtual learning for students with disabilities, for the program option. The admissions requirements are the equivalent of a US bachelor's degree, a transcript from each college that you've attended, and an up-to-date resume. We would prefer candidates who have a teaching certification or 1 to 3 years teaching experience. There's no GRE requirement and no application fee for applying to this program. So with that, we would love to take any questions that you may have. I see that there are already a few in the Q&A. So let me pull that up. So question 1 says, I'm curious about any certifications with regard to this program on virtual learning with students with disabilities. So if you're referring to certifications that are granted by the state of New Jersey's Department of Education, you would have to get that by applying the 6 credits for this certificate program to a program where you gain certification. So that would be an initial certification in either P3 or K-12, or a teacher of students with disabilities certification. Another question is, will you still get the certificate if you only take 1 course? You will not still get the certificate if you take 1 course. The courses are packaged together, but you're absolutely welcome to take one or the other of the courses if you think that one of them will be especially useful for you. would the certificate apply to preschool special ed teachers? You only mentioned K-12 teachers. So we do in our department have P3 teacher ed programs. We mentioned K-12 teachers because many preschools were not using online learning during the spring semester, but if yours is and you are interested in applying, I would definitely urge you to do so. I think that you'll be able to tailor the assignments to your specific population and setting. You'll have control over that, and I don't see why it wouldn't be applicable to you. So here's a question about the application process. If I already applied for a master's program for the fall and sent in the resume and transcripts from all colleges, do you need to do that again? I believe that you do need to reapply specifically to this program. The policy at Montclair State typically is with any different program or new program that you apply to, you have to fill out a separate application because we don't share materials like that. Yes, good question about the cost. I forgot to mention that, so thank you. The cost of the program is $500 per credit for graduate credits. So it would be $1,500 per course, which is actually a reduced rate for graduate credits at Montclair State. So the two classes together, summer and fall, would be $3,000 total. Okay, would paraprofessionals be able to apply to the certificate program? Yes, as long as you have been in a classroom. I think that it's perfectly acceptable and probably beneficial for you to apply so that you could gain this experience, especially if you're working in an online environment as a professional with students with disabilities, as I know many, many are at this time. You know, this information could be very useful to you. Congratulations, Kristen, that your preschool has been using Google Classroom and live Google Meets. I think that's fantastic. Hours for the course during the summer. So the course is scheduled for August 10th to the 26th, as I mentioned earlier. The professor will work with you as far as any synchronous meetings. So synchronous meetings will be specifically for group building initially, scheduling, or I'm sorry, helping you troubleshoot any issues with the applications or the technology, discussing the readings. They will not be protracted 3.5-hour meetings. They'll probably be on the briefer side, and just to make sure that she is connecting face-to-face with you and answering any questions, because a lot of this is very new to people and there are likely to be problems and issues that arise. But as I said, she'll work around people's schedules, and then you'll be responsible for completing the course requirements probably in an asynchronous manner, as we say, which means working on it on your own time and then submitting that work through Canvas. There is not a discounted rate if you are taking the course to further your knowledge. Okay. Would I benefit from the course as an LDTC? I would absolutely think that you would, especially if in your role as an LDTC, you do consultation with classroom teachers, or you're helping classroom teachers figure out how to, if you're a case manager and you're helping them figure out how to monitor IEPs or translate learning goals for students with disabilities into a virtual learning environment. We have many LDTCs who take our courses just on methods, and I think that that information is always useful to have in that role. Let's see. Yes, if you are in a program currently, you will need to resubmit your required documentation. As far as the work requirements for the first session, since it's a 3-week course, we are very sensitive to the fact that it's a compressed timeline. And we really want you to have something readily available and translatable to your classroom when you leave that course. So it's likely that there will be one self-paced project that you would submit at the end, like a virtual unit of study, and it will be divided up into week-long chunks. So at the end of each week, you might submit a portion of a culminating assessment for that course. But we are sensitive to the fact that it's a compressed timeline, and we want to delineate very clear and specific learning goals for that, so that you're not overwhelmed, but you have something practical and applicable to take back to your classroom at the end. Okay, I'm just reading. So for anyone who signed on late, I just want to mention that this webinar is being recorded and will be posted later, so that if you missed any of the information, you'll be able to view this webinar again at a later time. I don't believe that you will have to buy any course materials except for a textbook. We're working to ensure that the technology that you need is free and readily available to you, or that you can just use whatever your district is using, because we don't want there to be out-of-pocket expenses for teachers, especially right now. Okay, just looking down the list here. Okay, the courses, we are hoping that there will be an additional cohort starting in winter 2021, and that the courses would run, the first course would run in the winter session 2021, and then the second course would be offered later in the spring semester of 2021. For the summer session, it starts August 10th, so I would recommend that you apply as soon as possible, because it's possible that the course might fill, and then you would need to wait until the winter 2021 section, possibly. So I would register as soon as you can, if possible. Okay, I think that I have answered everyone's questions. If I haven't answered your question, if you could please retype it in the Q&A, that would be great. Or if I partially answered your question, I don't want to leave anyone without getting their questions answered. I believe if you are an MSU alumna, you still have to provide a transcript, because again, we don't just share application materials. You have to ensure that all of your application materials are in the same place so that your application can be reviewed. Yes, you will get an actual certificate of completion once you have completed the program. You'll get, an actual piece of paper that says that you completed the certificate. The program is, as I said a few minutes ago, I'll just repeat that answer. The program is fully online, which means that it's a combination of synchronous and asynchronous. As I said earlier, the synchronous meetings will be brief in-person meetings scheduled at the convenience of the course participants, along with the instructor, once a week. And then the rest of the work will be self-paced. The instructor is also going to have virtual office hours, so that you'll be able to meet with her either in small groups or individually as needed throughout the course. If you apply now, you should know within, I would say, no longer than a week if you are accepted. We're reviewing applications on an ongoing basis. There's rolling admission, and so and especially because of the short timeline here, we really want to let people know as soon as possible. Are there any other questions before we conclude? Okay, well, if anyone has any additional questions, I really encourage you to use okay, hold on a second. Here's one more last question. Lance, if you look in the webinar, There's a description of the application requirements. And as I mentioned earlier, we are looking for people who have a teaching certification or 1 to 3 years teaching experience. That could be as a classroom teacher or as a paraprofessional, as I said earlier. There is no GRE requirement and no application fee. We're really trying to reach as many teachers as we can who need this information for the upcoming school year. So as I was saying, I encourage you to use the emails on the Q&A slide. You can email either the Montclair State Online Programs email, or you can email me directly, especially if you have a question that pertains specifically to you about transfer of credits, or am I a proper candidate for this program, or do you think that my experience is relevant? If you have any personal questions about that, I would really encourage you to reach out to me. You need to submit a resume, Carrie, so we would just use that as documentation of your years of teaching experience. Okay, well, it looks like there are no additional questions. And so I want to thank all of you for taking the time this afternoon to join this webinar and find out more about the program. I hope that all of you will apply and that I will get the chance to meet you virtually this summer during the first course. And please reach out anytime if I can help in any way, or if our online programs staff can help you in any way. Thanks so much.